Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo Artisans. It is August, usually a little bit slow in the markets, but not this August. It's kind of slow, kind of not slow, but what we're going to do is take a look at some charts. We're going to see if we can figure out what might happen this week. Before we get too far, though, go ahead and get your free algo. Link is in the description. Give us a real name, fake name, we don't care. We'll send you that free algo immediately, and we'll get you on the list for when we do our workshops. We're going to have a free workshop coming up in the next month or 2, and then every workshop after that is going to get paid. So pay attention to those emails. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ, USDJPY, Bitcoin, EURUSD, AUDUSD, GBPJPY, and gold. And before we do that, we're going to take a look at the economic data that's coming out this week. And before we even take a look at that, we're going to take a brief moment to talk about the news. We've got Trump meeting Putin. We have all kinds of things happening, but so far the markets have been relatively tame considering the gravity of the situation. So either whatever's going on is priced in, or the markets are waiting for the FOMC minutes that come out on Wednesday. So like last week, I talked about how the CPI could really change the markets, and the CPI really did affect the markets in a big way, but the CPI's cousin, the PPI, was what actually made the huge difference. It was a massive miss, and it made the CPI look like a head fake. So I'm going to limit the forecast to the FOMC minutes, and the FOMC minutes are basically a record of what the FOMC members talked about in their meeting, and it's going to give us possible new clues as to whether or not we see a rate cut in September. Now, before last week, I would have guessed there was going to be a rate cut. After last week, and especially after the PPI, I am not so sure. Let's go ahead and jump right into that data, and we will go from there. Okay, so Monday is basically over. Tuesday, we have a little bit of Canadian data, 8:30 a.m. EST, a lot of CPI data, 8 p.m. Mountain, aka 10 p.m. New York. We have a lot of New Zealand cash rate news, basically their version of the FOMC. The next thing we have, Wednesday, right at the European Open, we have the British pound CPI, and then at 2 p.m. EST, the FOMC minutes. And I think that might be, if anything, what moves the markets unexpectedly next week. We'll see how that goes. Thursday at 3:30 a.m. EST, German PMI, both services and manufacturing. Same with British pound at 3:30 a.m. EST. And then the USD unemployment claims at 8:30 a.m. EST, as it is every week, plus 9:45 a.m. The US PMI, that happens as well. Friday, Fed Chair Powell speaks, so Friday might actually have some volatility relatively early in the day at 10 a.m. EST. So that is the news for this week. Let's jump into the charts with the NASDAQ. Now, up until the FOMC minutes, I do expect the NASDAQ to remain calm. High time frame, I expect the NASDAQ to continue up, but we might see it just kind of go sideways to down in the next couple of days after making all-time highs at about $24,060. So we'll see what happens with that. I think a lot of markets are going to go kind of sideways up until the FOMC minutes. That's just how it is. It's August, it's quiet. Unless there's major news, I don't expect a lot this week. Great for the range traders, not so good for the trend traders, but let's go ahead and take a look at USDJPY. Now, USDJPY is rather bullish on the high time frame, and even on these mid time frames, I do expect it to just kind of grind up. So maybe I will be scalping during the daytime up until FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. I'll probably just buy the pullbacks and look to take those longs. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is almost always bullish on the high time frame during this time of the year, but it did make all-time highs last week and is pulling back down. I did expect it to go more or less to where it has gone, and for the next couple of days, the market is a little bit bullish, but it's got that pullback, that need to cover where price had gone before. So we could possibly see prices go down to about 112,000, but as it stands right now, according to the algos, I expect sideways to up, but not a lot of up, just a lot of kind of sideways grinding, maybe a shoot up. That's always the possibility with Bitcoin at this time of the year. So far, Bitcoin dominance has been low, and it may just go sideways, which would be great for the altcoins. Let's take a look at EURUSD. So the euro is going to grind sideways probably make an attempt to reclaim 117. However, I don't know that it'll be able to. I think we're going to see a decrease in volatility for most markets leading up to Wednesday. Now, I could be wrong about that because no one's ever right about everything, but right now I expect a sideways grind with lower highs. Now, we might see lower highs more so than what I've drawn, but I'm just going along with what the market says, what the algos say, and I expect one more high, maybe as low as 116.93, maybe as high as 117 or a little bit higher. I expect another high, a grind down, probably to bounce around 116.50-ish, and then sideways into that FOMC minutes. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. Similar to the euro, I think it's going to want to grind upwards, but there's a little bit less bullishness with the Aussie than there is the euro. So we might not see as many highs, we might see a grind, and there is always that possibility that I did not yet draw, but I am going to draw based on the price action. We may see actually a breakdown, but I don't think it'll go too far. The lowest I think we'd see this week is going to be around 64.50, but it may just simply kind of grind and sideways down. We'll see about that. I think sideways is really the call for almost everything this week, but this is what I'm seeing in the algos. Let's move to GBPJPY. This is an exception to sideways. I did call this one pretty accurately last week. The pound versus the JPY is just kind of a sideways and up grind. Like it could go sideways or sideways and up. It'll probably be pretty slow on the high time frames, but probably some good scalps on the low. And again, I would be buying the pullbacks on this one and going long on this because my bias is bullish. Let's go ahead and take a look at gold. Now, gold has been pulling back since its all-time highs, but really on a higher time frame, it's just coiling. It's just winding up, and I think it's actually going to eventually break to the upside, but it has had such a run this year, I think it's just going to take a break. If you go back to 2025, it went from 2,500 all the way up to 3,500, which is massive. That's huge. So I think what we're seeing is actually a vertical accumulation. What I mean by that is a lot of people are buying while some people are taking profit, and I do believe just for the next few days, we're going to see some sideways grind. It might not be able to get down past 33.20. You never know with gold. We are in the middle of all of this Trump and Putin talk, so the geopolitical headline risk is pretty high. We've already seen the meeting today with Zelensky. We haven't heard any huge news come out of it. I'm guessing that there's not been any surprises, so I think we're just going to see that grind going into the FOMC minutes. August tends to be calm. I think we're going to see calm, and that's how it is. And there is money to be made on this. In fact, that's what we do at Algo Factory. We teach people how to predict where price is going to go. And when one can predict up or down which way price is going to go, one can extract money from these markets. So go ahead and get that free algo. The link is in the description. And that free algo is going to also put you on the list for more information coming out. The free webinar that is coming, I promise. I know I've held that back, but the summertime is a tricky time. And quite frankly, there's just been so much going on. I've been really focused on trading rather than doing videos and doing a lot of stuff. So that is going to come back. It's going to happen. We hope to see you there. Don't forget, we are live Tuesday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST. We'll see you there bright and early. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, algofactory.tech. We will teach you how to trade like a hedge fund pro. See you soon.